Hello, everyone. This is Kelly Beard of KarmicTools.com, and tonight's community event is around the new Venus cycle. Venus has an 18-month cycle she renews every time she retrogrades, and so we're going to go a little deeper into what that means. But let's take a couple of deep breaths and just unify the circle, anchor our day here, let go of everything else. Give yourself this hour and 15 minutes is probably about how long we'll go, to honor yourself and your values and priorities and what's important to you. So let's take a deep cleansing breath, making that connection above, below, and at the heart. And we're going to do that 3 times and then get rolling. Deep breath in. And hold and release. Relax your body, open to receive. Take another deep breath in, connecting above, below, and at the heart. Deep breath in. And hold and release. Open to receive. Invite your guides who supports you in all your endeavors. And take one last breath in to connect above, below, and at the heart. Deep breath in. And hold and release. Okay, I am so grateful, everyone. This, of course, is my specialty. Venus is someone I've gotten to know very intimately over the last, 20, 30 years. I started really honoring the cycle and learning and digging and taking my own notes from 99 to 07, that 8-year zone, which, by the way, was Leo cycles that kicked it off and got me present. And then once I saw so many results, and along the way in my journals, I just kept tweaking the tracking and the bookkeeping. And when I got to this really good format of a workbook, by 07, I started doing it in classes with other people. So ultimately, I'm telling you all about the new cycle and the energies and how to understand what's going on, but I'm also inviting you to get your own reading and custom guide, because that will guide you for the whole 18-month cycle. And we do 9 months of release work and 9 months of reclamation work really consciously with a once-a-month check-in. And so ultimately, this will be an invitation to that. But I want you to feel into Venus, the sacred feminine, Oshun in our Yoruba tradition, and known by many names across many cultures. They have honored that light in the sky. And Venus, when we're doing the release work, she's going to be the morning star. And when she comes back as the evening star is when we'll be doing the reclamation work. So right now, since we're at the tail end of the old cycle and getting ready to start the new cycle, you can see her, and she's actually the brightest she's been in years. But she's really brilliant right now, and she's evening star. But as she gets closer to the sun, physically closer to the sun, then we won't see her. And what happens is she goes through these 2 different phases. On the release side, she disappears for about 10 days. And we call that the metamorphic underworld. Let's say if we broke it down in elements, it's the air element, so it's our consciousness and our thinking. And so we go into this change of consciousness every time Venus retrogrades, and we review how we've been living for the last 18 months to 8 years. And I'll get into that in a second. So that is the rhythm you want to tap into, just understanding that every 18 months when she does this retrograde and she pauses, what we say, she goes to keep counsel with the sun. So we're going to combine our consciousness and our higher self and our purpose and identity this lifetime with the sacred feminine of values and priorities, where our relationships and finances, and I always say love, money, and magnetics, because Venus is what we naturally magnetize and naturally repel. So you want to get your magnetic field together when you're working with Venus as well. And so every 18 months as an individual, we can tweak that. We can recognize that our relationships and finances have run a certain course. And then there's times where life is busy. We have kids, we have jobs, we have things to do. And 18 months goes by 5 times over, and we got that 8-year cycle. And now you look up and things really are different, and you better check in. Because I always tell people, if you stay in a relationship, a job, a house, a community, anything, 8 years or more, you want to pause and reevaluate, because those values that you started out with 8 years ago have changed considerably. And for this cycle with Leo, our frame of reference would be 2015, before that 07, before that 1999 when I started. So this is a powerful cycle to co-create with. And as you can see, I got hooked, and then other people got hooked. And most people do this cycle with me over and over. They get their book repeatedly. And then other people will drop in, check in when that sign is like really relevant to their chart and come and go. But they come back because anyone that likes to track and keep notes, the custom guide that goes with it is really wonderful. And it gets you in that rhythm, and it cultivates a relationship with Venus. Ultimately, that's what we're doing, is opening up your higher self to creating that relationship with the sacred feminine that guides your life, because your values and priorities are going to be what you base your choices on and what you're telling the universe is most important to you. So you can write anything down you want, and you can talk a good game, but if you're not actually tapped into those values and living according to them, it's all an idea and not a reality. And so I want to help you bring this into a reality. So those love, money, and magnetics, relationships, and finances, this is her domain. And one of the things I'm going to try to do this go round, I did it about, I don't know, it might have actually been the last Leo go round where I combined a little masculine energy, but I've talked to a few of my regular students that are with me kind of for every class, and we agreed it'd be wonderful if we had this guide for Mars as well, and then we'd have Mars and Venus. But I don't quite have the guide ready, so I might just do a little test run with y'all, bringing in the masculine to kind of balance this out, because ultimately, because we're in Western culture, our masculine gets a workout thanks to patriarchy. Our feminine is where we need to practice. So it's still all good that we're going to stay focused on Venus. Now, Venus, as she rules Taurus, the earth sign, becomes all about the experience, physical security, creature comforts, food, sex, money, and resources, the primal, instinctive, basic essential needs, right? So Venus rules all that. You want a good relationship with her for that, because that will always help you improve and upgrade your circumstance in a very literal way. Okay, so checking in there and checking in with, I always bring in the hungry ghost with any Taurus energy, because wherever we have Taurus in our chart is a place where we're quite capable of setting a goal, going after it, and getting it. But what happens is we get it, and all of a sudden it doesn't really satisfy. It's not what we thought it was. It didn't work out the way we think it would. It just doesn't work. And it's this hungry ghost that's never fed, never full, never satiated and satisfied. So we want to be mindful of the shadow of this energy as well, and all Venus's domain, body value and, the value of beauty, strength, actual results, and embodiment, all that literal earthy Taurus energy. We want to know that Venus is at the root of that. She activates those activities and issues that come up in the realms where our appetites are concerned and where we do things to, like magnetizing and repelling. It's a deep thing when you start to work with it consciously. When she rules Libra, it's an air sign. It's a little more on those ideals level, right? Where there's a concept of balance, but who of us can really maintain balance 100% of the time? I always go back to my sacred seasons, the 8 sacred seasons: winter, spring, summer, fall. Winter and summer are our extremes. It's when we have the most light and the least light. Those are our 2 extreme moments in the year. But fall and spring equinox are equal day and light. So even if nature allows us to swing to extremes for a minute, it's always bringing us back into balance as well. And the best function and the most productivity happens when we're balanced in our masculine, feminine, balanced in our intuition and intellect, balanced in our head-heart alignment, which is a big part of the Leo theme that's going to come into play all through the night. So we definitely want to do the Kelly thing. We've been making a list of goodies. We want to call in the reciprocal relationships, profitable partnerships, creative collaborations, flourishing friendships, constructive communities, and actually, I think I just had a different one with community. Was it creative communities? I don't know. We were getting creative. But in Libra, it's about kinship and connection and that harmony. Art and essence, now we're back to that invisible. I always use music as an example. I love me my French girls, Les Nubians. I don't know a word they're saying, but I know every word to their songs. So there's things that transcend our culture, our language, or what have you, that's the essence of things that you can feel no matter what. If you have a soul, if you have a heart, and you're not narcotized and numbed out by food and pharmaceuticals, you can actually feel that kind of essence. So I'm going to stay on the front end here while we go through the material tonight. Be thinking in the back of your mind about one tangible goal and one essence goal. the big picture with Venus, I like to get on the table at this time in the cycle as we're kicking off a whole new groove and just remind you over and over, because this is the lifetime we're in, has to do with what we say the rhythm of culture, the evolution of human consciousness and connection. On the larger scale, social collectively, as we work through our individual stuff along the way, thinking of that one essence goal, one tangible goal. How do you want to feel in 9 months and 18 months? And what do you want to manifest and bring into form, from essence into form, in the next 9 and 18 months? And then on the larger scale, this rhythm of culture, this evolution of human consciousness and connection with each other is something I'm all about it, okay? I believe in community. I believe in the village raising the child. I believe in these things. And it all coincides with Venus's bigger cycle in the sky. Now, one of the things she does in her natural path that she travels through the sky, she literally creates a geometrically perfect 5-pointed star. And it's so powerful. And at each one of those 5 points is where she retrogrades in a certain sign, and it goes through a certain rhythm. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But meantime, that bigger cycle, she has the 18-month cycle, very individual, very private. I feel like that's just for us. The 8-year cycle ends up being about you and relationships and the people that you get involved with community, housing, what have you. But there's a bigger 113 to 130-year bigger cycle. And in 2004 and in 2012 was our only time in our lifetime where Venus crossed the sun. And where we see this little black dot go across the sun is the only 2 times in an 8-year period, once in 130 years, that she does that. So we got cracked open as a culture, as a planet, as a unit for humanity and human consciousness during those years, let's say. And I was aware in 24, and I had a call about it, but I went to Hawaii in 2012 and got to actually see her do her thing. So it is magical, and part of the shamanic astrology thing is that we create relationships with these entities, and we cultivate that, and then we do ceremony around the actual planets doing actual things. This is a little bit deeper than a traditional horoscope or, quickie overview that's real general. So we get deep with it. And with Venus, the deep thing is the feminine. Sacred feminine is what does connect us all. Right? That's the important piece. Now, we know there's certain human natures, that thrive and can live up on a mountain devoted to God and nature and don't have to ever deal with humans, and they're good for that. But I would say 90% of everybody else, humans are social creatures. So we've been constantly trying to get connected and break down borders, and then patriarchy gets all unnatural with it and tries to separate us. So here with Venus, she's always bringing us back. And one of the things, I used to follow this guy, I still follow him, Carl Kalaman, did a lot of research with the Mayan astrology and the different timelines that Earth goes through. He's part of my Barbara Hand Cloud crew. I have the article. I could probably track it down and link it if somebody really wants all the details. But the part that I wrote down that I think is relevant for general population to get a handle on is the fact that if we follow this Venus cycle, this 130-year piece, in the 1500s, was the first circumnavigation of the globe, when those who believed the world was flat figured out that it wasn't. Of course, indigenous people have always known the truth, and that humans are everywhere. So all of a sudden, it cracked some consciousness, did it not? Then 1600s was the first national mail services. Now we can connect with each other across the nation. Right? The 1700s brought the first international scientific collaboration where they got together with 77 scientists, got together to witness Venus cross the sun like we did in 2012. That, again, brought us into this piece, right? The 1800s was the world post, telegraph, telephone. Now we're more connected. We can connect faster. We can call somebody. Now we don't have to wait for a letter, right? Everything's faster, faster, faster. In 04 to 2012, what did we get? We went down the rabbit hole of internet that connects everybody. And all I can say is our next level is telepathy. If we're going to get directly connected this way, that's the direction Venus is moving us toward, is direct connect to that which you're magnetized to, right? So be aware, magnetics count. In the 2100s, infinite possibilities. Like, who knows what it's going to be? I put unified whole by then. Let's hope, right? Meantime, we alternate between Gemini and Sag. So the 1500s was very Gemini science. 1600s, the spirituality, the religions start taking over. 1700s went back to the fight for science. 1800s brought religion. 04 to 2012, the one we're in, is back to a Gemini cycle of science kind of leading the way, and the 2100s will swing back to religion. So be mindful of, again, we're talking culture, connection, kinship, what we're magnetized to, what we're repelled by in terms of our values, our social values. With Venus, it's our personal values. Okay, so on this bigger way, this will allow us to understand the larger story going on around us. So we've always innately sought community and explored other cultures. That's natural for human beings. Certain nomadic cultures move around. Indigenous folks that follow the weather or the animals or the nature because they don't want to overgraze or overwork mother in one particular area, that's more natural. But we got to blend with this technology now, so we got to find our own balance. We sometimes feel born to the wrong race or the family of origin that doesn't really understand you. Then that means you got to go out and find and create a sense of belonging and kinship with others. So how's that working for you? And is it up for an upgrade, right? That's what we want to think about this whole night, too. It's all about Venus lingering in Leo for 4 months, June to October, leaning on your Leo, which automatically presses your Aquarius from across the way, and then challenges your Taurus Scorpio to grow out of comfort zone into new territory. So this is the energy overall. Again, we all have it somewhere. And then those of you who have planets activated, it's a little more intense and personal. And you should be able to track those years because it would have happened in 2015, 07, and 99 for sure, where she circled back, she lingered in the same place, and leaned on this energy for you. And we're going to get into what the Leo energy is all about, but I still want to cover some of this social stuff. So how we relate evolves, you know. As we evolve morally, spiritually, financially, our values evolve, then how we relate with each other, who we relate with, all that changes, right? So we want to be ready for that, and we want to be okay with some of the fall off. I always say every time I upgrade my presentation, which Venus is in charge of as well, on my website or even in my own look, changing my hair color, whatever, people always got something to say. So you got to get over that. Who cares what anybody else thinks? We always say what other people think is none of my business. I ain't got nothing to do with that. So you want to be good with how you're radiating light, love, and truth and moving through the world. And Leo is going to bring that even deeper with the sign energy and the lessons coming up. But it might be time for a radical paradigm shift, especially post-2020 and COVID and all that madness. Again, Venus is how we connect. How are we going to come back after that distraction and disconnect? That tore us all apart, tore families apart. I mean, it's deep. Nobody is exempt. Everybody was touched by that in some kind of way. We also want to connect with beauty by our own definition and raise the vibe. Nature is your quick connect to your heart, so getting under the sky, communing with nature in whatever way, whichever element you resonate with, earth, water, fire, air, or metal, wood, these elements are part of our nature, and it is where our actual molecules like to be recharged, okay? So making a way for you to get in nature, again, with the sacred feminine is nature, and we need to go back to mama every now and then to recharge. And when she retrogrades like this, it's time to really think about that. You want a free flow with your creativity. Free flow ideas, no agenda, no attachment to outcome. Give yourself, especially you creatives, you artists, because that's really being activated big time this cycle. You've got to give yourself some space and time to free flow with no agenda, because that's when the good stuff comes. You know, every time we have expectations of a certain kind of outcome, you're subject to get let down. Expectations almost guarantees that you're going to be let down. But when you suspend that and you open to the infinite possibilities and you trust that whatever comes through is going to be for your greatest good, it works a different way. We're renewing the creative fire every time she retrogrades and activating that inner artist and creative and sensualist and, you know, the one that sees the beauty. Again, the way to raise the vibe is to get in your gratitude and upgrade your environment. You know, do some cleaning and cleansing. I like to do a deep clean at the turn of the season. Winter, spring, summer, fall gets big ones. And then in between those gates, those 4 in between, so it's about every 6 weeks in my house. And it helps keep the energy right. And if you let it go, you eventually feel the energy. So renewing your energy and your creative fire. Now, shadow Venus is neediness, needing that outer validation, being other-directed, over-giving to the neglect of self. We don't want to do that. Being disconnected, isolating or self-imposed exile, rushing development, rushing anything. is growth and development takes time. Forcing, not allowing. Feminine way allows. Masculine is force, right? Valuing the outer over the inner. And then we have toxic mimics, and we talk about this a lot, how pornography is a toxic mimic of sexuality, sensuality. Gangs are a toxic mimic of community. Humans are hungry for these things. We need these things. They're part of our nature, and we shouldn't go against nature. And if we can't find it, we settle for what we do find. That's hard. But when you work with Venus, you definitely do that way less. You don't even do that anymore. Now, like I said, your counterbalance is Mars, the masculine, who you are and what you want, how you get things done, what's the visible result. So we can't just live in Venus world forever, right? We got to go in, feel what's necessary, invite the possibilities, create space for them to manifest, open to them and allow. But then there is some time to do, act, make choices and decisions, and make some moves, right? That's important. So I want you thinking about some questions as well. What do you naturally magnetize, okay? I, for one, I magnetize certain types of children, all kinds of animals, certain kinds of elders. Like, I can tell what my magnetic field is doing by who crosses my path. And what do you naturally repel? I repel drama. I repel nonsense. I repel dumb shit. I really do. And it's a beautiful thing because I've worked so hard on my magnetic field. So things that I hear about don't ever happen to me. What are you naturally attracted to? Here's another place where I'm always dropping in and telling folks that, again, in relationships especially, now I've been married well over 30 years, so every 18 months sounds like a lot, but it's really not. If you take a pause for the cause, and I do because I'm married a Taurus, and so I put him on Venus's schedule already. So we all get allowed a conversation that says, you know what, I've evolved over this last year and a half, and what I was attracted to then, I'm just not really attracted to now. It's not you, it's not a big deal, nobody's right, wrong, good or bad, but I'm not attracted to that anymore. Can we move on? Can we find something else? Can we experiment till we find what works, And again, with that rhythm of allowing yourself to grow and change and develop, because you got people in your world that want to lock you in a box when you were 7, 14, 21, 28. They lock you in whatever age they last saw you in, and I can't deny I do it too. I've got some elders in my life that I met when they were 40, and they're still 40 to me. And I got some babies. I got babies I've birthed and raised, and I'm like, you're still my baby. So we do lock in on whatever age made the biggest impression or whatever. There's just different ways we do it. But what are you naturally attracted to is a big thing that evolves. And if we don't allow each other to change and grow with that, you get stuck. And then you look up at 8 years and you're ready to get divorced because so much has changed by that point. Then what do you radiate out? What is your light that you radiate? So I got that loud laugh. I radiate this kind of joyful, big energy. I get that memo a lot from folks. And so just knowing what you radiate out. And so considering that and recognizing where there is an upgrade. And what do you, again, sort of repel? How do you share? That's a big one with Venus. Okay, so some people are super easy with their sharing and love to share, and it's fun for them, and others are like, back the fuck up. I don't want to share. I don't share food. I don't share this. I don't share that. People got isms, right? So how do you share? And how do you prefer to connect with others? Do you prefer the easy, shallow, high-by pleasantries and let's not get too deep? Or like me, I got 5 seconds of small talk. How you doing? How you doing? Then we going deeper. What's really going on? I don't do well with shallow. I just don't. But I know that about myself, so I can dial it in certain company. But otherwise, I try not to even put myself in that position because I will hurt feelings. Because I'll end up asking a question just benign to me, really offhand, not even thinking about it, and it triggers somebody's deeper shit, and nobody wants to do that in public, right? And what do you naturally nurture? What do you cultivate? I always throw this one in. Love is a verb, y'all. How do you work your love? Love is an action. It's an essence. It's a lot of things, but we want to activate that verb part. So these are things to consider as we go through more goodies where we get a little more specific now and look at where we're coming to with our energetic support and activations for this particular retrograde. So Venus lingering in Leo, like I said, is going to affect everybody's Leo, Aquarius, and Taurus, Scorpio by default. But up in the sky, she's going to square off with Jupiter and Uranus, who are both in Taurus, and she's going to trine Chiron, which is in Aries, so that's 2 fire signs. So here we have some energy for change around, again, our self-love, self-worth, self-value, our Leo zone, our heart, what we love and care about, and Taurus, our primal needs, what we said in the front end, that food, sex, and money, the creature comforts and personal security, how that works. So right now we're getting cracked open by Uranus and Jupiter in terms of our consciousness, what we believe to be true or possible for our physical existence. Okay, think about how many people literally struggle from the cradle to the grave. Think about how many people think it is just painful to be in the body. When we're dealing with Taurus energy, it's all about the pleasure in the body. It's about this be the only planet you need a body. So you would want to love it because you're not going to get this nowhere else in the universe. Okay? And Taurus wants to enjoy every possible physical experience with joy and pleasure. I've never known a pain seeker Taurus. I'm sorry. So Jupiter's there only once in 12 years, has brought us back to a new story that we want to tell about how we live in on the ground in real time. And Taurus is ruled by Venus. So now we're back to the feminine, the practical, the sustainable, that energy. What's the new story? What's the new consciousness? What have you been through over the last 3, 6, 9, and 12 years that's now got you present to new values and priorities and this new body? Because we age and we change and things happen. So now how we live in our physical body. And Uranus is only there every 84 years. So Uranus is more collective, and we talked about this in different classes across the board here, but the last time it was there, it's money related. Remember we said food, sex, and money. So it was right after the Depression. So everybody was crazy in America in particular around this, and this is when the Fed was created and fake money and credit began. And here we are 84 years later with Uranus and Taurus checking us on these values that we agree to. Are we going to agree to fake invisible credits and money, things like that? So think about that because you get a vote energetically, and how you live on your personal level is going to affect the social collective levels. So if we're changing in what we want to express and how we create our lives, and we've changed our consciousness, this is what Venus is going back and forth with. Imagine a council table, and we got the queen in Leo, no less, for real, the queen, the empress, let's say, the high priestess, as you wish, is sitting there with Jupiter, the guru, and Uranus, the liberator. They want to liberate us from this old experience. And Venus is like, that's all well and fine, but we need to honor the values that are most important to us at this moment, our heart. Okay? Now, the beautiful thing about that challenge to grow in this fixed, out of our fixed ways, right, ways where we've gotten real crusty, is the trine to Chiron. Chiron is healing, education, and soul work, which is right now in Aries. I want to say 2018 to 2027, so 9 years. We're in a zone here of recalibrating our individuality, our identity, and individual purpose. But we're doing a major healing, like a lifetime healing. With Chiron, it's big. It's deep. Where were you denied your individuality in certain ways? And how is that healing now where you're coming into your own? How have you learned about yourself in the last 10, 20, 30 years? What have you learned that is, again, your nature? We want to honor your nature. Never make your nature wrong. I don't play that. So this trine is a blessing without effort, but it's also such a subtle activation that you have to apply yourself to get the benefits. Well, here now we're talking Leo and Aries, the 2 fire signs. Leo's that self-love, self-worth, self-value. Aries is your independence and courage of your convictions, and that fire starter, right? Aries knows how to get things started. I always tell them, don't even worry about sustaining nothing. That's not even your job. You are the starter. And so this energy of new beginnings and new ways of being an individual within the context of your relationships or the collective is up for an upgrade, and we're rebirthing that. So it's good to have this ease where the healing of you, the individual, is going on while you change the creature comforts, the money things, the food things, the sex things, right? As we adjust those things and we have to change and make new decisions, that's what's up for, let's say, June to October. Okay, this is where she's lingering and pushing buttons. Now, I did make a little note about the lunar guidance and the seasonal guidance or vibration or energetic support. And that is, I just want to give you a heads up. We're meeting on July 13th, which is right in between the Capricorn full moon and the Cancer new moon. So this is the Cancer, Capricorn, lunation. But we just came out of the Gemini, Sag one. So it's the way I've recognized it going by is that last month kind of opened up some ideas and consciousness and thinking in new ways, wanting to express in new ways. And then this month brought in again, with the security issues, emotional and physical security is Cancer, Capricorn's domain. And I read a couple of places, but I couldn't find it in the sources I normally use for supermoons. But I saw one or two articles that called that Capricorn full moon a supermoon. But I know there's a supermoon for Aquarius next month and Pisces the month following. So the way this rolls with the lunar energies is this is our internal default settings. This is how we feel. These are our moods day to day, week to week, month to month, right? It's personal, again, you, the individual. So as our consciousness awakened last month, this month goes into, okay, what are my needs? What are my fundamental needs? Next month, Leo Aquarius goes into clearing out those fixed places, those rigid places where we get stuck, and release some of that, release some of the projections or expectations of others so that you can really narrow in on you and what is your unique contribution and what is the authentic expression coming through you now versus a year ago, 3 years ago, 6 years ago, etc. That's going to be intense during the Leo Aquarius July-August month, right? Then Virgo Pisces comes in with another super full moon. We've got what works into the system, into the rhythm and routine, right? When we get to that pre-fall harvest zone, we're going to be developing the routine that's going to work for the year to come. And so it's this sort of September to September rhythm that happens. So we want to think about that. Now, 3 full super moons means it's more intense, the alignment is more exact, the magnetic pull is stronger. So each full moon is building on each other around releasing an old roles and responsibilities, releasing old ways of contributing to the social collective, and old ways of doing boundaries. New day, baby. Let's do our boundaries in a better way. So release and clear that which is not working for you over these couple of months, because if we can do this work and prepare with Venus and everything, we hit that, I think it's the second one in the series, so we have several to go in the Aries-Libra eclipses. We have a Libra new moon solar eclipse. If we do all this good front-end work, when we get to October to activate a new cycle in Libra, that's huge because now we're back to your relationships and connections with others. So if you can do some cleansing and cleaning internally around what has value for you, what's important to you, and how you want to express yourself in new ways, almost like, getting a new look always happens with the Leo one in particular, a new style, a new presentation, personally and professionally, comes up. If we can do all that, then this new beginning is not only a lunation, like it's not only a new moon, it's an eclipse. So now we're setting 10 and 20-year cycles in motion. We're grounding the next 10 and 20 years of interacting with others in all new ways based on this new Aries energy coming in with these eclipses that are calling you into being more independent and sovereign and free to kind of move about the way you need to. And then there is the final Taurus Scorpio eclipse. Is going to be a full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus. Now we're back to Libra and Taurus being ruled by Venus. They're eclipses. It's all connected, y'all. We could go on for hours, but I just can't go down that rabbit hole with you. I got to know you really want to know about that. That would be me and Kimberly, y'all. But it's all connected. And so month by month, everything's a response to the last thing, preparation for the next thing. See how that works? And so when you're in it, you want to ask, kind of looking back, where did I just come from? And looking forward, where am I headed? And so what do I have to do right now to get where I want to go? We really want to meditate about that. Also during this time, this little window between June and October, the season is summer solstice, and we go through the Leo gate of power. So it's even juicier that the Leo gate of power is happening while Venus is there, because that's a sun thing. So now the sun and Venus, remember I said they track together for a good 10 days. That is considered the activation of the new cycle. And all of that's going down around August 10th to the 20th. So you can be in as much of a sacred zone internally as you can during that time, especially for those of you with strong Leo, Aquarius, or Taurus, Scorpio. So let's look at that. Let's look at the Leo light and shadow list. Okay, because this is the theme for the overall reaching theme for the year for the 18-month cycle. And so when we go through Venus moving through Leo, In a light way, in the positive, is adventure, inspiration, risk, and just for fun. So here's a big one, y'all. I gotta confess. In 2015, I made the most beautiful book with sunflowers and everything, and nobody signed up. It is the only one in all these years that people have signed up back to back to back. And when I was promoting it, I was talking about how we were going to have fun, we were going to learn how to kick it again, we were going to be a childlike, and da-da-da. And everybody went numb. They were like, I don't remember fun. I don't know what fun is. I'm too busy struggling to survive. I don't know what you're talking about. We're going to learn to have sex better. We're going to have some freedom. We're going to do all these good, juicy Leo things. And nobody wanted to play. And for me, it was my first year of empty nest. So I went all in with my book, y'all. And I rebirthed myself at that moment. And it led to all kinds of things that have led to here. So I'm grateful for this. But remember what fun means to you. And know that at each age and stage, it does change and evolve, right? But Leo is our reminder, and it's the section in our chart where we have the most fun. So where's my Leo? 9th house of spirituality. This is where I have fun, y'all. This is my thing. There's a Tina Marie line that says, everything we're serious about, we get to do for fun. That's me. I'm serious about earth and sky. I'm serious about following the rhythms. And I make it fun, too. So don't forget the fun. Strongly valuing love, authenticity, and freedom. It's a value, y'all. This is deep. I don't want to ever be confined. COVID just made me buck so hard. I just can't even do it. Self-creation, sourced in your heart and natural, okay? Your light, the shine that you bring, your magnetic field that is unique and alchemical mix of your own, right? It's so juicy. Loving your inner child or activating your innocent child heart. So that's the part of you that believes in the goodness of human beings, that believes that we are all here with a purpose, and that is open and receptive to whatever the universe wants to bring. That inner glow of self-worth, self-value, and self-love, we're reactivating that, cleaning it up, clearing it out. The last 18 months have run their course. The last 8 years for show. Okay, so if you haven't looked up in a couple years, this is going to be a good one to cleanse that out. Loving passionately, wholeheartedly, and generously. So all y'all that live with a Venus in Leo, y'all know who you are. Passionate, wholehearted, and generous. Play, performance, art, storytelling, theater, games. You know, role-playing is a big Leo thing, so bring it in however and whenever you need to. Courage, being willing to fight for the greater good. Very important, that heart. It's all about the heart, y'all. So how's the heart? Joy and generosity of spirit that radiates from within. It's very natural. It's very organic, okay? Most of you Venus and Leos just glow naturally. It's beautiful. Comfortable with your own unique beauty, your unique gifts and talents, okay? So that's the other thing we're going for, y'all. We're not special, but we are unique. You feel me? You're going for that unique energy that is just you. Leadership that promotes love, light, and truth in both work and play. So again, with the leadership principle, you know, like we said, the past lives of being a queen is a lot of what the traditional astrology will tell you. But I've converted that elitism, hierarchy way of thinking into more leadership and leading by example, being the way you do that. You lead with your heart, and everyone around you will respond to that. Okay? Now the shadow, we got to watch out for the ego inside ourselves and other people, but ego is edging God out. And I have to tell this quick funny story of my child who was rolling with my aunt, who we call the resident atheist. She don't believe in nothing. But I love the Erykah Badu song that says, they don't believe in God, but they fear us just the same. That's my aunt, okay? So they're riding with my baby. He's about 5 years old. And she said they were going along, and he's in the back seat. And he's like, Nana, is ego edging God out? And she said she almost crashed the car because she's like, I don't know how to respond to that. What does that even mean? I don't even know what that means. And I was like, oh, my God, I can't explain it to you. So it was he must have heard me say it. I can't imagine. I don't remember, like, saying it around it or making a big deal out of it, but he must have heard it. And he was questioning it. It was so funny. But it is. It's when we get too full of ourselves and we forget that we're connected to spirit. Another line from my church, forgetfulness is the primary source of suffering. We forget that we're connected. We forget about our ancestors and Orisha and invisible team. We forget who we are and the magnificence of being a human with this little blip of 100 years on the planet if we get that many, right? So 50 to 100 is what most people get. So check in and watch it in others because you're going to see it blow up in the people who are not connected, who are narcotized and walking through zombie-like. We want to move through any denial around our past bad romantic decisions. Okay, so the other heart of Leo energy is love, love, love. All of you are love bugs. With that strong Leo activated, you're very focused on love, loving yourself, loving other people, having them love you, all of it. So if you deny past bad decisions in the romance department, you're just going to repeat those mistakes, baby. So don't do that. Being argumentative, thinking others owe you. Shadow Leo, okay? Seeking unearned status, wealth, or reputation, sort of wanting to be known for something that you haven't really done, which is deep because I'm going to tell you about the archetypes in a minute. Exiled from others, no fun, no play, no joy, no relaxation. Who lives like that? No, just say no. Taking things personally, being self-conscious and insecure. Let's clean that up, work on those shadows, y'all. Look at what triggers these things. Look at what it triggers in others. And be mindful, because when you radiate your light, sometimes folks ain't ready. It's like when you turn on the lights and somebody's asleep. It makes them jump, and they're angry at first, So when you're the light and people are still moving through darkness and they're not ready for all that, you got to just back up and wait till they are. No self-discipline. Must have others push or motivate you. That's a problem in today's world, honey. That is a problem. Wounded ego is what allows others to determine your worth. Okay, so if you can't get to that true sense of self-worth and self-value, then others can easily lead you and push you around. Playing a role, looking the part but not being the part. Okay, so there's that superficiality, that front folks put on sometimes. It's not going to really work in the new world, in the new earth. Need for validation, appreciation, applause from others is a big deal too. You've got to be able to self-motivate, self-validate, self-appreciate. Okay, there's got to be ways. It might not be a lot, and there might be other ways that we like other people to do that for us, but find the ways that work for you and build on that. False pride, trying to be perceived as someone you're not, being overly dramatic, manipulative to get your way. So, yes, let's let go of all that. Be gone. In ourselves and others, known or unknown, intentional or unintentional, be gone with that shadow, right? So back to the clarifying the goals, tangible and essence goals, reviewing your commitments, their current value and priority, reviewing resources and reallocating things, simplify, prepare for the future, okay? I want to take a little break before I come back to these Leo issues. Does anyone want to chime in? And if not, I can keep rolling.
Hi, Kelly.
We've got a little more to cover. Yes, come on through.
Hi, it's Trudy, and girl, I'm trusting my subconscious. Every time I chime in on these calls, it's just galactic. It is the truth. And my subconscious, even though I'm not very, very well versed in astrology, I can just feel the resonance. Truth is a vibration. So I'm trusting that my subconscious is downloading this stuff, and it's taking me where I need to go. Yeah, I trust, and I'm allowing, and I'm looking at the water and the waterfall and the lake, and I'm just being. So I'm really in a new zone and getting ready to work with children. Now, my Venus is in Leo, and my rising is in Cancer, and my sun is in Virgo, so it's like all this love, 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 love. So now I'm feeling, and I don't know if this is what it is, but I'm just feeling that I began to embody the love because I couldn't understand why I couldn't get to that reconnection. I was feeling lonely. I'm like, well, aren't I supposed to feel lonely? My man is 9 minutes away and I can't be with him, but aren't I supposed to be lonely right now? Isn't that natural? But I forgot that was an old program and that the pain is always here to teach. So as soon as I recognized that, something supernaturally aligned me with my higher self and God, source, and the loneliness left. I haven't felt lonely like in 3 or 4 days. And then I got the job right there on the spot with the children, and they're just coming, they're running to me, touching me, and I'm like, oh, yes.
There's a magnetic.
Let me share that.
Oh, thank you, darling. Anyone else? Kimberly, I know you got something. Come on.
May I share? Yes. So, this is so good. You talked, there's so much stuff, and I don't want to talk about all the things, but when you go over the light and shadow of Leo, I feel like I've been tested all the way up to this Venus retrograde. But when I think about tests, I'm thinking, okay, well, these are things that I need to zero in on during this Venus retrograde. These things I need to work on. And so some of the messages coming up for me, I don't know if you've seen The Wiz when the scarecrow just starts pulling out pieces of paper that have good messages on it.
Yes,
that's what I have. I have 3 of those messages today that just came out. And so, when you talk about Leo and self-worth, self-value, one of those pieces of paper messages says, I'm unapologetic about what I desire and trust that what I focus on will grow. And I'm having to remind myself of that, to be unapologetic. I have my self-worth. I have my self-value. I know what I'm talking about. And I concentrate on those things, and I watch them grow. The other thing, one of those other messages that came up today was, I let go of the shadow of the past by seeing someone for the first time with the eyes of love. A situation at work, I am dealing with someone who is in a new position, but I still remember the person that was in the previous position and how horrible they were. And so I'm having to tell myself, but this person isn't that person. And I know this could be any relationship where you would say, this person is not that person. Same thing, because I also think everything is a mirror image. I have to tell myself, I am not the person I was. I'm someone else, and I see myself through the eyes of love. And then the last piece of paper from the scarecrow is, the moment I realign with love, clear direction is presented to me. And I am reminded, of course, as a quadruple Leo, that my first inclination is love. So when I'm not feeling that, I'm off. And so that's going to really be my direction and my concentration this Leo retrograde, because I said I can't have the Leo retrograde I had in 2015. My best girlfriend, she on here, she knew what that was like in 2015. We'll have to go talk about that. But we, you know what I'm saying? We're not doing stuff like that in 2015.
It's a new day. That's right.
That's right. It's a new day. It's a new time. And so I'm so thankful for this call. I'm going to be quiet now. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, baby. All good, all good. Yes, cycles repeat, but the planetary support is different. You're different. We're all different. So anyone else want to speak up?
We're all different. Hey, Kelly, can you hear me?
I can. Who's this?
Oh, okay, this is Tanita. Tanita, I seriously enjoyed what Kim just said, but a lot of what you were saying, I was like, okay, I know this all for me, but I've recently discovered that my husband and I already knew that we were polar opposites because I'm a Gemini and he's a Sagittarius, but there's so much of this unknown level of romance in him that sometimes my Gemini, I'm a Gemini sun with a Leo rising, okay? Like, I have a lot of cerebral things, and I'm Capricorn moon. He is Sagittarius, and Aquarius. So we're very cerebral, but I don't oftentimes know when he's being, like, romantic and sweet. And so I'll just laugh, and he's so funny.
I've done the same thing. I feel you.
I'm definitely getting him the Venus guy for myself, because I'm just like, okay, I would like to be able to connect with him in that emotional way, and we're so different in how we approach that. I tend to approach my emotions from my mind, and he approaches them with, like, every ounce of heart and every
body
emotion. Yes, everything. So I was just like, okay, so everything that you're saying, I'm definitely getting a custom guide made for him.
That's so funny. I love it. I hope he uses it. We've had a few men along the way, but most of the time it is ladies. I was just going to say, I hope these shares are helping everyone, because this is part of the Leo fun, is that seeing how others express what they go through and how you might be going through the same thing. Anyone else?
Yeah, hi, Mama. It's Cinnamon.
Hey, you made
Can you hear me? Okay. Number one, you might have said it already, but can you remind me how this builds on the last Venus cycle we did? And number two, my ass that gets overwhelmed so easy, and every time I'm trying to follow along with your cycle, and I'm like, can I just be? Do I gotta push all the time? I'm tired. I'm fucking tired. So yeah, that stuff.
That stuff, right? Okay, yes, you can be. Yeah. Venus wants you to be, too. She absolutely does. And so this is where we soften up and we don't push ourselves. Cinnamon is my poster child for flying by the seat of her pants and then going back to read her custom guide and going, oh, yeah, that happened. And so there is no right or wrong way, y'all. You're validated if you do it up front or on the back end, either way. But the 5-pointed star, yes, I was going to circle back to that. So this is a good segue. Anyone else? We good?
Hi, this is Kai.
Hi. Hey, baby.
So I just wanted to say, so I have a lot of the activations that you were talking about are very personal for me. Like a lot of things are being activated for me. But since the last time you sent me that, the breakdown on the other one, I was really trying to sit down and process it because I'm like, okay, I really do feel these things, but I was really trying to, dig deeper because,
okay,
I felt
kind of what to do.
Yeah, I'm just kind of in a different energy space than I was. So I genuinely feel the shifts, and so my Leo is in Mars and it's in my sixth house, and then my North and South node are Taurus and Scorpio. So my Venus is in Pisces, and I'm also in Aries. So I'm really trying to come back into my space of just being able to love freely, because on my journey, when I remember being younger, my energy was, and mommy always tells me, no, you have this Cupid energy, and that really was, or is, I would say, my energetic signature. But I was hurt a lot. I trusted people a lot. I was very open and giving and people-pleasing until probably even during the COVID time we were talking about what that did. Yes, ma'am. Everybody that was close to me kind of fucked me over all at once. My family, the person that I was dating, the person that became a mother figure for me, everything kind of just fell from under me at one point, and then COVID happened, so I really went inside.
Down to come back. Okay.
Yeah.
So the five-pointed star might help with some of that, and then you and I can talk directly about how to work your activations.
Okay.
But in general, it's you find out, and this is what everyone will get after tonight's call, what Leo, Aquarius, and Taurus, Scorpio is for you. And the idea is that it'll say this house or that house, so we can use you as an example. So sixth house is where the initiation is happening. Sixth house is your health and daily routine and rhythms. So we want to look to that area where Leo is as where the initiation is happening, and where Aquarius is where the integration is happening, where things have to balance out to allow that new initiation to take right. But in order to do that, we also have to change things in our Taurus Scorpio department. That's where the movement, change, and choices have to happen. So you want to look at those houses, and those are listed in your post-call goodies. So you can see where the change is and where the integration is and where the initiation is. And that's the places you focus on, or write your petitions or do your prayers or change things around in that department of life.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
No problem, baby. Okay. Feeling good. So, yes, there is an order. Like I said, she makes that geometrically perfect five-pointed star in the sky. So what we've been through lately, and this was one of the visuals that is a little easier when I can point to it, but we're going to do it. We're coming out of the Capricorn cycle. The last 18 months were particularly focused on our roles and responsibilities, our structures and foundations, our commitments, and like she said, a lot of things have disintegrated, a lot of things have fallen apart. They haven't been solid. It was challenging. We also got some energy to upgrade. Again, with this Venus, every Venus retrograde has a similar energy. We want to upgrade our relationships and finances and check in with our values and priorities to make sure we're on point. So every single time we kind of go into this feminine zone. But the sign ends up bringing the lesson or the energy. So with Capricorn, it was new containers and structure, foundation, commitments, and decisions. But what happens is Venus is like, where's the heart? Where's the love? Now we just hit Venus in Leo, and it's new love, new self-expression, creativity, radiance, love, and beauty. And so the way I usually run the order so that you all can follow through a little easier is I start with Aries. Her five-pointed star goes like this: Aries to Scorpio, Scorpio to Gemini, Gemini to Capricorn, Capricorn to Leo, and then we go back to Aries. And these 5 points she hits over and over and over for about 45 years. And then slowly it starts to change. So we are in a zone where the Aries point is changing to Pisces. And so I was thinking about you, Kai, when you said your Venus is in Pisces. The next cycle is probably going to hit you a little stronger. And the other one that's changing from Scorpio to Libra. Otherwise, we in it for years to come with the Gemini, Capricorn, and Leo points. So when we start with Aries, what I've witnessed and what I've tracked is that when we go backwards in Aries, and the last time she did that was, I want to say, 2017-ish, That was Aries, new identity, passion, desires, goals, purpose, independence. There's all this new beginning kind of energy, and it all ties in with your identity and purpose. If you get a new identity and purpose, 18 months later, she lingers in Scorpio. Well, you have a new identity and purpose, so now you have access to new power and creativity, magnetism, Scorpio, transformation, your soul self, all that juiciness. Now, like I said, it's kind of overlapping and moving toward Libra, but we'll get to that. After we've gone deep into Scorpio, and now we've got a new identity, we've got new power, we hit Gemini. Because you have a new identity and new power, now you have new options. New ideas, new possibilities, thoughts and concepts. The Gemini thing comes up. New people, new possibilities. It's deep. And we went through all that in 2020 with COVID, cracked everybody open. And exactly what I was talking about, Leo moving through that Gemini Sag, flip-flop every 130 years, is social consciousness. It's awakening the social levels. Here we've got Venus going back to Gemini every so often and activating that new consciousness in the feminine realm. And you go back to September 11th, and that year where we got cracked open, like I associate that one with COVID. Like those are the big global shake-up things. Things were going down. Venus was retrograding in Gemini. It all had to do with cracking open our consciousness so that we could believe something new and different. So the challenge about 2020 and 2021 is we couldn't ground anything because of that Gemini Aries energy. We couldn't create the containers. We had too many ideas, too many choices, too many possibilities. Home and work got totally shaken up. All kinds of things changed in our value system because Venus lingered in Gemini, changing the value system. So when we got to Capricorn, it was like, wait a minute, what are we going to commit to? And so the last 18 months have been weeding out the things that are non-essential and that no longer have any value and are not the role or responsibility that you want to take on. And because we've done that, and the way that I described this kind of along the way is that the last cycle allowed us to clear the decks, build the bones of a new house, the walls, the interior, what have you, built. But now, this next 18 months with the Leo cycle, we get to decorate the house. We get to make it look like us again. We get to fill it out and express in all new ways. We've recalibrated internally over the last Capricorn cycle, again, recalibrating what we're willing to commit to and what we're willing to be dedicated to. And now it's like we can't be dedicated to anything that isn't heart-activated, isn't heart-centered, isn't engaging the heart. If we don't care, you're not going to get our attention. That's just how it's going to be. So now we get to get into what does it look like and what's the vibration and what are we radiating with this choice or with this person. And as we get through that and all that what it looks like, we go back to Aries and she's like, yeah, but what is it? So Leo likes to look like it. Aries likes to do it, be it, right? So that's the difference in those fire energies as well. So once we get through this Leo, where's our heart? How are we connected? What do we love? We're going to go right back to the Aries point and activate a completely new identity again, based on new values 8 years later again. So again, these small changes happen every 18 months. Big changes happen every 8 years. Now, Cinnamon, if you want to star 6 and pop in, let me know whether I need to clarify any more. But that is the 5-pointed star, and that is what we're coming out of and going into. And like I said earlier, everything's a response to the last thing, preparation for the next thing.
I have muted Kelly Trudy again. Mm-hmm. So what does it mean? My north node is in Taurus. So what does that mean? Venus rules Taurus.
It means that Venus is recalibrating values in your Leo department, and you just started a whole new life path with Taurus. You just started a new 20-year cycle. So because of that new cycle, now your internal woman values and priorities have to shift so that you can anchor the next 5 years. So I would use this next year or two to anchor the first 5 of this new path that you're on.
Okay, so clearly defining, because I was just thinking about that, because I'm in a twin flame relationship and a polygamous entanglement. And so I was just clearly defining my values, but I didn't know that had to do with the North Node. I was just saying what I was going to accept in my heart. My energy for love feels expansive. It feels inclusive. Everybody, come on in. It feels less than sovereign for me. Like I'm not a side chick, and I'm not going to be the girlfriend. We're all on equal playing field is where I'm coming from. So does that fit in the North Node?
Well, like I said, there's 2 different things happening here. You just, with the North Node in Taurus, kicked off the new 20-year life path and direction. What I'm saying is Venus lingering in Leo is pushing you to grow in another department that has to change how you love, how you express, how you do the Leo thing in order for that life path in Taurus to take off.
Okay, I got it.
And it's a recalibration of love and relationships for all of us. We're going to love in new ways now. We're going to have intimacy in new ways now that hopefully are more heart-centered, joyful, fun, exciting, passionate, Leo-type stuff, you know?
Yes.
So for those interested, call it in. For yourself and each other.
Thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome, baby.
Kelly, I was just laughing because you said we built the house, we built a new foundation, and now we're going to decorate it, right? And in my typical fashion, where I don't know exactly what's going on, but I know you got something to say, I got rid of my couch that my ex and I had bought right before we got divorced, and there's been no couch in my living room for like 5 months, and it gets delivered next Wednesday.
I love you. I love it.
I know.
She just doesn't.
No. I just do it and I catch up later, but here we are.
I know. I love it. So, yeah, we're clarifying these commitments and roles we want to play. But ultimately, the release side is ruled by Leo. So we're releasing any self-love, self-worth, self-value issues and any old ways of expressing ourselves, old ways of loving, things like that, old ways of engaging in relationship. Let's let all that go in the first 9 months. And then the reclamation is ruled by Gemini. So again, we get a second chance at that Gemini to actually create some new options for ourselves when we're authentic, when we come from the heart, when we keep it real, right? So when you all decide, whoever decides they want to do their reading and custom guide, it will cover you for the full 18 months. And then the monthly circle is optional. But we are calling in the overall archetype of the lover. So we're going to look at the light and shadow of the lover in August. And we have the inner and outer. So here's what happens, y'all. When I start a new cycle, there's two things that happen with Venus as well. She hits the sun first, and when she does that is going to be August 13th, Venus and Sun meet. Venus and Sun meet twice in 18 months. Only twice. 2 times. 18 months. All the rest is the monthly meeting between the moon and Venus. So once a month, the moon and Venus get together, and that's what guides our 9 months of release work, okay, is the monthly meeting. But the solar meeting is your outer activation. So we start off each leg of the 9-month journey, right? Release and reclamation start out with a meeting in the sun. So we in our workbook start out with recalibrating our outer persona and what we present to the world or how we navigate in the world. So we have that outer activation. Then we have an inner activation. That first meeting with the moon is a big deal because when we go real deep with Venus, it's what we call the death by intent. Okay, so it's where you choose to shed a skin, release an old persona, let go of old values. We release, and in my world, we start at the root and we end at the root. So we start the release work at the root chakra and we go all the way up to the crown and then pure and clean and renewed, and that'll be the Gemini meeting in the sun. And then we come back down from the crown through the third eye, imagining throat chakra, coming all the way down into the root to what we want to have in form by March 1st of 2025. So this cycle is going basically from August 23 through February of 25. So it's going to carry us the whole 18 months. So we have the outer activation, inner activation, and then the root chakra. Those first 3 months anchor the 9 months. So even if, and this happens, y'all, even if you get your book and you follow really good for the first 3 months and then it falls off and you get busy for a month or 2, you can still come back to your book and it's still going to be fine. But the more conscious and intentional that you are around anchoring those first 3 months and really answering the questions that are in there honestly, because you're going to have to answer them again in 9 months, and being ready and having those notes, when you go forward to the reclamation side and I ask you to reflect back on what you released, basically, you're clearing so that you can bring in something new. The universe abhors a vacuum, so we don't want to let go, and then just be standing there empty. No, we're going to go month by month and reclaim, and fill that space consciously. So that's what's powerful about that. So I have the outer and inner archetypes. The outer for Leo was dilettante, because the dilettante is that outer superficial persona that isn't in their heart. They're sort of bouncing around, jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing. And the inner was the innocent. Okay, so we have to do some healing around our innocent child heart, that first meeting with Venus and the moon. On this Leo, on this release side. 9 months later, she's going to hit Gemini for the outer, and Cancer for the first moon contact. So the outer and inner archetypes there will be the liberator and the goddess. So we're letting go of phoniness or disconnect from the heart in order to be liberated and embody that feminine goddess energy on the back end. You feel me? So everything's connected. And the better, for those of you who are trackers and note takers, the better you are at taking notes on the release side. Like I said, on the release side, I'm going to send you forward to see what you're reclaiming so that you can see how those things are related ahead of time. But just like Cinnamon said, sometimes you can't really know what's what until you've lived through it. And so on the back end, when we're reclaiming, I'm going to send you back to see what you released, and that's going to inform your reclamation, and they're connected. And that's the other way I connect things. The root and the crown are connected. If we release at the root, we're reclaiming at the crown. If we release at the crown, we're reclaiming at the root. So they're connected. Your creative center and your third eye are connected. Your power center and your throat are connected. That's why masking us up was a total denial of our power. Voice and power center are connected, and the heart connects above and below. So we move through month by month. I'm doing a story and an archetype again. The release story is the ugly duckling and mistaken zygote, and these are how we find our authentic selves. We bounce around. You know, I've had a hard way to go on both sides because white folks didn't like me. I hung with all black folks when I grew up. But anywhere I go, I get these wild reactions from black and white folks. It's crazy. And I had to just be authentic Kelly, though, and then let the chips fall where they may. So real people, male or female, secure male and females love me on sight. But if you have any hidden agendas or secret fears or phobias or weird things, I seem to trigger that shit. I don't know why. But I bounced around a lot to find my people. So that ugly duckling mistaken zygote is something we're going to release and move through the story with. It's about finding one's pack belonging as blessing. Okay, so ultimately, we're going to find our authenticity so that we're magnetizing and repelling naturally so that the people around us are wonderful. And the reclaim story is sealskin, soulskin, homing, returning to oneself. And so that is where we return to wholeness. Again, the more authentic we can be, the more heart-centered we can be, the better all this works. So I encourage you all to reach out to me directly if you want to go deeper with your own reading and guide. Otherwise, dropping in for the monthly circle, for those who actually subscribe and commit, you'll still get your activations even though you don't have the book. But it just depends on how you work and what kind of notes you take. So for you digital people, just subscribe for the $25 a month and you'll have your activations in the monthly call and you'll be good to go. But if you really want to go deep and you want the reading in the book, then we'll do that. Now, I did pull a card for us for tonight that I felt was for the community. This is something we're all going to work on in some kind of way. And I did ultimately make my decision. I'm gonna use some kind of goddess deck. I haven't decided which one, but I'm going back to my Tarot of the Spirits by Pamela Eakins. And I love her because she combines numerology, astrology, mythology, cosmology, mysticism, the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life. Like, she got it all. She's a cosmologist. She's crazy. I love her. But it's so rich and so deep. And the card I pulled for our community read is so powerful. It's the One of Fire, so I recommend everybody read your own One of Fire and whatever decks you got. Here, she associates the One of Fire with the signs of Cancer, Leo, and Virgo, which is kind of perfect because I always think, remember I say everything in astrology especially is a response to the last thing, preparation for the next thing. So Leo is a response to Cancer's security issues. It's like Leo wants to just have fun. Okay, all that serious security stuff, I don't want to talk about all that. And all this focus on food, I just want to go out and have fun, right? That's Leo. It's a response to Cancer. But it's preparation for Virgo, because the better that we are about who we are and being authentic, then the more wholeness and healing and integration we can get with that Virgo energy. So I kind of like that she works all this stuff in. So right now, let's take a deep breath. Whew. That was a lot of download. I know. This is going to be more. But we will have a recording, and you will get a post-call note. But open to receive the message that is just for you this night. And it may speak to something coming up that you're going to renew during this time, June to October, while she lingers in Leo and activates this fire energy for all of us. So the One of Fire in this deck is force. At the One of Fire, your spirit grows restless. It's time for a change. Time to engage in new activities, new relationships, new interests, a new treatment of the body, Ashe. Your internal fire, the driving force of change and movement, is burning. You must do something. You desire newness. You desire meaning. At this point, however, you are experiencing only a blind will to change. You need direction. You are experiencing the raw and undirected force of the first stage of creation. Here, the force of your own will to act, produce, or create becomes a focused point in the realm of all the unfocused and infinite possibilities in the universe. Deep breath. This is a force, and on the tree of life, it is the force of Keter. It is the first sphere, the creative force, that emerges from the void of all possibilities. While burning desire is the essence of focus and creativity, and you ought to be feeling very creative at this time, it is possible that you feel neither creative nor focused. In reaction to the surging fire within, you may feel a variety of emotions ranging from exhilaration to depression. You may feel like you are burning up with no outlet or channel for the endless yearning and energy. You may feel frustrated. Do not be tempted, however, to suppress the burning. Be advised that the fire within is the source of all of your movement and all of your wisdom. It is the source of all growth and change, whether such change is spiritual, emotional, mental, or physical. This burning energy is the force that will propel you toward realizing or maximizing your own potential in all these areas. Focus on the excitement. At the one of fire, you have tapped the central and elemental point at which your deep internal spirit, the force behind all change, begins and ends. When this burning flame flares, your energy level increases. You experience raw and infinite energy, unleashed, unabashed, and undirected. Understand that you are about to undertake a new project, a new love, a new adventure, or spiritual quest. You cannot yet envision where you are headed, but you know you are headed somewhere. You feel the wheel of fortune beginning to turn. At this time, your internal will is powerful and driving. It can take you to heights that you never fathomed. The force you experience at the one of fire is not only the spirit of your own will, the source of all action and movement, but the will of your spirit. The will of spirit seeks to focus ideas and bring them into manifestation. The challenge of the one of fire is to understand how to achieve the best focus. Deep breath. At the one of fire, you are meeting the yang energy pattern within yourself. You are dealing with fire in its most uncontained form. Fire is the primal male element, the universal yang force. Yang in Chinese philosophy is the active, positive, masculine force or principle. It is the universal emitting force, the source of all light and heat. The yang part of you is now rising up, challenging you and moving you to peaks of growth and awareness. Ashe. Through proper attunement, the creative surge of the one of fire will soon become directed and rewarding. Thank you, God. The only way you will find what you are looking for and thereby direct your vast and potent inner force is by exploring the cosmic sea, your own inner depths. Turn within. It is time for introspection. It is as if you are a blind or empty pupil in the center of an eye. Although your visionary powers for the new stage are forming, you are not yet able to see the path with clarity. Stated another way, in order to learn to see, you must become a student in the center of the eye. This means it is time for a deep penetration of self. Leo always represents the self. You must open your deep inner self in order to understand the depth and power of your own will, as well as the direction in which you are now moving. At the one of fire, to open your deep self, you need to access your feminine, your yin side. Your feminine side, which is fluid and free-flowing, will give you the permission, space, and freedom to open to new possibility. Using your feminine aspects will end the uncontrolled burning or yearning for change. A balance of male and female energies within will allow you to expand and grow with flexibility, creativity, and clarity. deep breath. And I'll put the card in the post-call goodies so that you can see the picture, but here's a description of the picture. In the center of the one of fire, an upright male triangle manifests containing an empty eye socket. Everywhere, this triangle is surrounded by spirals of purpose, will, and life force. Dark rods shoot out. These rods are searching for something to penetrate. The sense of the card is blind, wild, rearing, and unbridled. One has the sense that the central figure has flown from the primal source in a bursting supernova. Overlapping the male triangle is the inverted female triangle. Connection with the female force, receptivity, has not yet been made. This connection is needed in order to produce an eye to see, which is the key to realizing the eternal light-giving potential of the suit of fire since we started at the one. Here we go. The ghost of the feminine form appears because the blind will intuitively know that it must be tempered so that it does not burn itself out, Ashe. So, I don't know about y'all, but I got a whole lot of Sag and Aries to add to this Leo. So if you already have a lot of fire, let's be mindful of how we channel it. Let's bring in some earth energy to get it banked so it's the hearth fire that warms and cooks nutritious food. Let's get that good, juicy fire going, right? And let's be mindful of the other elements and bring them in when we need to balance out our own energy field that way. So deep breath. This is a new beginning of some new self-expression and new ways of valuing the things that you care about, and really honing in. If COVID did nothing else, it really reset our value systems in this world. It killed the 9-to-5 Monday through Friday schedule, so we can all dream a new way of working and functioning at home and at work. We still got to function at home and at work, but we need to do it in a new way based on new values. So this is what this retrograde is going to afford us. And for those of you who want to go forward and get deep with it, please reach out directly. I'll make sure all those links are in the post-call note as well. And that's it for my presentation. If anyone would like to drop in and say anything, ask any other questions, I am available.
Oh, my God.
Thank you.
Kelly. So good. It's Tanita again. Oh, my God.
Come on, baby.
Okay, so this is the thing. You were talking about fire, and this was getting me, so we're renovating another house, right? And in it, we just recently learned today that to put the grounding rod in the house, you have to, that's the grounding rod is to make sure that the electrical system doesn't get out of control. It's grounded into the earth, right? Well, it's a very old house, and we found out that you ground the electricity through the copper water pipe. And as you were talking about fire and the balance of yin and yang, the water pipe underground is what grounds the electricity throughout the house. This provides two things. One, so that if there's ever a short, the water will make sure that it doesn't spark and cause a fire, right? But at the same time, if there's ever a leak, you'll know it right away. So it was just, I was like, just freaking standing here.
I love it. Micro to macro, inside, outside, upside down. We can apply it across the board.
Across the board.
But fire and water are conduits. So, yeah, we're going to become conduits, y'all. We're becoming our own conduit. Absolutely. I love you, Tanita. Thank you, baby. Thank you. Yes, we need that confirmation at the end here. I love it. I'm so grateful for all of you interested in the cycle, and I hope you go forward and work it, and I hope you reach out with your aha moments and things, the revelations that come to you behind this, and I'm sure you'll go back to the replay. That's all good, too. So thank you, everyone.
Kelly, this is Kim again. I know I'm trying not to talk too much as well. I'll tell you this, I would keep myself from saying the Ace of Fire, the Ace of Wands, the One of Fire. That answered a few questions for me. Of course, I picked up the book and started following along while you were reading. And so the feminine side, you said something earlier before we even did the card. I was trying to find it. I wrote it down, the feminine, and I had asked myself, do you mean feminine receptive? And literally the card gave the answer that yes, that female force, the receptivity, the feminine, and then that part that will set you free, give you that space and the freedom. And then the nerd part of me got excited because you were talking about Kether, One, the Tree of Life. That's where all the ones and aces are. So that's just more things for me to read about and go study. So thank you.
Thank you, and bring us nuggets back because we love you for that. Thank you, baby. All right, y'all. Well, I will get this cooking and get it out and up and out for everyone. And reach out directly as you feel called. Thank you, everyone. Much love and gratitude. I will see you next month. What are we doing next month, y'all? If this is Venus, it's Chiron. Chiron in Aries we'll go deeper into for August. And then my last one for the year will be September with the asteroids, y'all. So I do want you to know that. I stopped doing the monthly free call for October, November, December because I go so deep into ancestor work. And I don't have a lot of time during those months. So I want to thank you all. Join me next month for Chiron and Aries. Those of you with strong Aries, Libra, and Cancer, Capricorn will be interested in that one. All right. Big love and gratitude. Peace and love, y'all.